Diablo IV has arrived. As the forces of hell gather, only you can stand in their way. Journey across the expansive open world of Sanctuary. Choose from 5 powerful classes, then progress them to fit your playstyle. Adventure with your friends in up to 4-player co-op with cross-play and cross-progression on all platforms. Welcome to Hell. Diablo IV, available now. Rated M for mature. Tap the banner or visit this episode's page to learn more.
The Council of Franks, on behalf of delicious Oscar Mayer 100% beef franks, has declared its official position. Oscar Mayer 100% beef franks are 100% beef frank delicious. This summer, choose delicious. Choose 100% beef. Keep it Oscar.
Hey, what's up? This is Sully from Godsmack. Strap on those boots, baby, because you are now in the trenches of the war room with the one and only Mistress Carrie right here on the Mistress Carrie podcast.
What's up? This is Joe Rogan, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie.
Her hair so lovely, pretty eyes.
Hey, this is Brent from Shinedown, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie. Hey, Carrie, go put your bra on, girl.
Hey, this is Steven Tyler, and you be listening to the baddest bitch in Boston, Mistress Carrie.
What's up? This is Aaron from Stain, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie.
Hi, everybody. This is Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters, and you're listening to the one, the only Mistress Carrie.
Hey, this is David from the band Disturbed, and you're listening to the baddest bitch in Boston, Mistress Carrie.
Hi, Bruce Dickinson here from Iron Maiden. Yes, indeed, Miss Whiplash herself, Mistress Carrie, is here to unchain your brain.
Hi, this is Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. You're listening to Mistress Carrie.
This is Dennis Leary. You are listening to my favorite, Mistress Carrie.
Hey, this is Corey from Stone Sour, and you're listening to, you have the privilege of listening to Mistress Carrie. Oh, God. Oh, yeah.
Hey, it's Mistress Carrie, reporting for duty from MCHQ for episode 158 of the Mistress Carrie podcast. And before we get to this week's guest, Wolfgang Van Halen from Mammoth WVH, I want to remind you about all of the features you can find at mistresscarrie.com. Not only can you find every episode of the Mistress Carrie podcast, including bonus episodes and the daily sit rep, but you'll also find every episode of my video show, Cocktails in the War Room, my photo galleries, the links to all of my social media pages, my blog. You'll find my official bio, and you can shop in the online store. You'll also find the concert and event calendar that is filled with charity events and concerts from all over New England because there's a lot going on, including the shows that Mammoth WVH has got. They'll be touring with Alter Bridge and Sevendust, and they'll be at Foxwoods on August 12th. Just go to the concert calendar at mistresscarrie.com for more. My guest this week has one of the most famous last names in all of rock and roll. But his band Mammoth WVH are getting ready to release their sophomore album, Mammoth II, on August 4th. Mammoth WVH is also straddling the Alter Bridge Sevendust tour with European dates with Motley Crue and Def Leppard, and opening up night number 1 of Metallica's 2-year-long M72 World Tour. To say Wolfgang Van Halen is busy is a complete understatement. So when I found out he had some downtime in a hotel room in Germany, I jumped at my chance to talk to him. We talked about his upcoming new album and his songwriting process, the concept of nature versus nurture when it comes to musical ability, his tour dates with Metallica, and finding your own signature guitar tone, plus stories about his friends Sevendust and Mark Tremonti from Alter Bridge. And we talked about the emotional experience of playing the song Distance in front of a crowd. So, allow me to introduce you to the one and only Wolfgang Van Halen. Good morning, Mr. Van Halen. How are you doing?
Good morning. I'm doing well. That actually works out, too, for me. Even though I'm outside of Amsterdam right now, I did just wake up because we got here early this morning.
Mornings are stupid when you do this for a living, and it doesn't matter where in the country you are. Mornings are dumb.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
Come over here. My dog Wednesday is not happy right now because she thinks someone's here because I'm talking to you. You are one of the hardest people on the planet to nail down and actually sit down and talk to because you are literally everywhere all the time.
I've been pretty busy.
How many people does it take to keep track of your schedule?
At least
too many.
At least 3 right now. I have, it's funny. We kind of have this sort of management team that we call ourselves. We call ourselves the Trusted Humans, and it's me, it's my Uncle Patrick, Matt Bruck, and Tim Turnier, and the sort of 4 of us are like the brain trust of Mammoth. And so it's like if one of us forgets something, the other one won't. So it's sort of a good relationship that we all have.
It's going to be a huge year for you. Obviously, the Metallica tour, the European shows with Motley, Crue, and Def Leppard, the Alter Bridge tour with Sevendust, and this record. You've got a lot going on. So August 4th, the sophomore album from Mammoth WVH is coming out. How do you feel before that release as opposed to before the release of the debut album?
I think I'm way more excited. I think before with the first one, I was a bit more nervous because it was sort of the first thing coming out. But with this, it's like I've established what Mammoth is and everything. So I think with the whole thing with the album, I came into the whole process with a bit more confidence, so I think I'm just kind of excited to show the growth of the sound. And, I'm just really excited for everybody to hear it. And most importantly, I'm excited for it to be out so we can start playing everything live.
I talked to a lot of songwriters about their process, and a lot of the time the answer is about the collaboration. And you famously talked about how it's all about the isolation for you and working out these song ideas by yourself. Where are the ideas coming from? Are you pulling them out of the ether? Because you're not really bouncing them off of someone else. So how does the process start for you?
Well, I might not have a band, but I do have my producer, Elvis Basquet. And he's sort of almost that other half. Where I am able to kind of get out of my own way and have him, help me out and be like, hey, you're on the right track, or hey, maybe let's not do this one, kind of stuff like that. He does what a good producer does. But yeah, overall, it's like I think everything just kind of comes from my experiences and feelings, and I think I've been through a lot, as we all have the past few years. Basically. From 2019 to when the album is recorded is people think that since the first one came out in 2021, there was a lot of stuff on there, but I mean there is, but I finished writing that first album in 2018. So basically everything that's happened since 2019 and now is sort of showing up on this album. From the isolation of COVID and everything that happened, and from losing my dad, and that the anxieties of just Mammoth in general. And being out on my own, I think that all really shows up on this album, and it ended up being a bit more aggressive and sort of anxious while also celebratory at the same time. It's kind of a weird combination of a bunch of different emotions.
The concept of trust comes up a lot in the songwriting process, and that you have to be able to trust the people you're working with, not so much to handle your good ideas, but to be able to not judge you for the bad ones. How important is that trust between you and him, and the ability, especially when you come with the weight of your name, to be able to come and not be afraid to bring a bad idea to the table?
It's super important, the relationship that we have, and the way we work off each other, is because it's like we can be honest with each other, like you said. I think there are some working relationships I've had where the person will try to kind of insert any idea they can just to say it was their idea, rather than what is the best for the song or for the overall picture of it. And with Elvis, it's like we just work so well together, and it's always for the benefit of the song, not for each other. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's I can't imagine working on any Mammoth stuff without him. He's absolutely the best.
A lot of artists had to make the decision whether they were going to have an album be an escape from all the COVID stuff that you're talking about, or whether they were going to reflect all of the uncertainty in the world through their music. So it sounds like a lot of that uncertainty might be coming out in this record. Am I wrong?
Yeah, no, there's a lot of there's a lot of thinking on this record. I think that's why it turned out to be a bit more aggressive. It was sort of a combination of everything that happened in the last few years, kind of establishing Mammoth and touring for the last 2 years, but then all that uncertainty from 2019 to 2021. Yeah, there's a lot going on.
One of the things that comes up on the show a lot is guitar tone. And I started down this kind of wormhole about it with a conversation shortly after your dad passed with Nuno. And he told me a story about being a young kid when Extreme first broke, and Dweezil took him to meet Van Halen, and they were doing a rehearsal, and he lived out his dream of playing through all of your dad's gear, and he was disappointed that he still sounded like Nuno. Yes. And so now when I talk to guitar players, I always ask them where they think their guitar tone comes from, because if it's not the gear, where is it coming from?
Yeah, that's the thing. I think there's a lot of people that believe, it's in the hands, or that's stupid, and you're stupid for believing that, and it's whatever amps you got. And I think honestly, it's a combination of both. I think every player is their own unique person. So I guess, do I lean a bit more towards it being in the hands? Sure, probably, possibly, but I don't know if there's any definitive answer to that. I mean, certainly watching Dad and the way he played, and other people, pick it up and playing through the same rig, it just doesn't sound the same. So I thought maybe there's just enough specifically unique players where just they sound like themselves, and there's nothing that you can do.
One of the other things that comes up a lot, and you're going to be an expert in this topic, is musical ability, genetic or learned. And I bring it up because I didn't get any. Like, I think you got all of mine and a bunch of other people's too. Is it something that you think comes from the Van Halen DNA, or is it from growing up surrounded by people encouraging you to play? Because I don't think even your dad could get me to play guitar.
I think maybe genetics maybe placed a sort of nugget of interest towards music, but it's like, and I understand, I constantly every day on social media, I get somebody saying like, oh, it's in your genes, it's in your blood, and it's like, I get that to a certain extent. And I totally get it's coming from a positive place. But like overall, it's like I play a lot. I've been playing since I was 9, and I'm 32. I've been playing way more than half my life. And at a certain point, it's that, that sort of 10,000 hour rule. The more time you put into something, the more results you get. So I could understand where that comes from. Also, but I grew up in an environment that was very music positive, although that's a weird thing to say. If there ever was a music negative environment, I wouldn't want to be in that. But yeah, I just the growing up in the environment and just being encouraged, I guess, by both my parents, it certainly didn't stop me from improving.
Bringing up all of the stuff on social media, I hope you know that for all of the idiots, there are thousands of us cheering you on.
No, there's a very stupid but vocal minority that's fun to point and laugh at every now and then. But I've noticed over the years, at least absolutely since Mammoth has come out, people have just been so wonderful and so kind, and you see that at all the shows that we play. It's crazy to be. I mean, we're out here. We've been playing in Germany, and there's just rooms of people who are just like stoked, and it's an incredible feeling to connect with people all the way out here everywhere. It's super humbling.
When you pour such personal stuff into your music, the last time I saw you play was the last time you were in Boston with Alter Bridge. And I remember you playing Distance. And obviously anybody that's seen the video knows what a personal song that is for you. Is it hard for you to play those songs live, or is it cathartic for you to play those songs live? Because it feels like you're sharing something so personal with us when you're up there.
It's a bit of both. It's a really crazy thing with Distance is that every time we play it, there at least somebody is crying in the crowd. And while that's really sad, it's also really touching to be able to affect someone in that way, to that emotional response that, they reflect upon their own life and think about who they've lost or who they miss. And that's a huge thing to be able to give that feeling to somebody. So yeah, it's tough, but at the same time, it's sort of like, getting together with your friends and just having a good group cry and just kind of getting it out,
Not only can I not play guitar or any instrument, my musical career ended with the clarinet and the marching band in high school. That's as far as I got. But I also have tried to write songs, and it just is not a natural thing for me. So I always talk to songwriters about examples of perfect songwriting. So is there a song, and it doesn't matter the artist or the genre, that you just look at from a songwriter's perspective and say, if you look up perfect songwriting in the dictionary, that would be the example, but then you got to break it down as to why you think it's perfect?
I don't know. I think for me, melody is such an important part of songwriting and just sort of catching your ear. I think maybe the first thing that I thought of when you brought it up was not to cheer the family on too much, but the song Dreams by Van Halen. I think that's such a wonderful song because of that melody my father came up with that starts it, and that he does again in the solo later, kind of reinforces it. Sammy singing his ass off, Al just holding it down, and Mike as well, and I don't know, it's just things like that where it's just to me, melody is so key. And I think you can see that on the Mammoth album, especially this one coming out, is that no matter, overall it is a more aggressive album. I think it's a bit heavier, but there are softer moments, but overall melody is the most important thing to me. I think that just kind of reflects in what I'm interested in and what I create.
You're not going to be in New England with Metallica until next August, which is so crazy that we're talking about concerts when they got announced that are 2 years away. When you got that call, it's such an insane tour. What did it mean for you to get the call to be like, we're doing this amazing Metallica tour and we want you to be part of it?
Yeah, that's just a crazy one, just an insane honor for the guys in Metallica to find merit in what I do on my own, outside of the Van Halen bubble. That it's like, hey, what you do on your own is good enough to open for us, and that to me is just a crazy compliment. But yeah, just being a part of something this huge in general. I mean, have you seen the stage? It's crazy. The big in the round. I've never done anything like it, and it's certainly a new experience.
Are they going to smuggle you in a bin through the crowd to get you up there?
No, we just kind of walk through. Luckily, it's pretty closed, and they've got this like blocked off area. I'm not going to be Taylor Swifting my way to the stage in a janitor cart or something like that, but. Yeah, no, it's nuts, and it's a huge honor to be a part of, man. They're so wonderful. Everybody on the crew, and of course the band, they're so wonderful and so kind. Couldn't be happier to be a part of it. Very excited to, we've been doing, I think we've done 4 or 5 shows out here in Europe. I'm so excited for when it gets to the States, because the very first show is the day the album comes out, Mammoth II. So we'll be able to start playing all the fun, heavy stuff for that crowd. It's going to be really fun. I'm stoked.
Less than 2 weeks after the record comes out, you're going to be at Foxwoods with Alter Bridge and Sevendust. I interviewed Tyler Connolly from Theory of a Dead Man recently, and he said those guys sat around and had a conversation one time, and that if there was any band that they didn't want to get into a fist fight with, it would be Sevendust. Do you think that's true?
I would certainly agree with that. They are a scrappy bunch, but I love them so much. They're all so wonderful as well. I mean, I've known Morgan since 2007. I've known those guys for a long time, and not only are they legendary musicians and songwriters, but they're just good dudes, and they'll beat the hell out of you if you piss them off. So you want to be on their good side.
And I talked to Mark recently as well, and he and I kind of get into the weeds about all of that guitar tone stuff. What did you think about his Sinatra record?
Oh, dude, so good. He has the perfect vocal tone for it. It's like, I think initially when people saw the announcement, they're like, what? But then you think about, if you're a fan of his voice and Tremonti and his vocal work in Alter Bridge, it's like, dude, his voice is perfect for it. And then you hear it and it's like, yeah, it's amazing. It's so fun because when we're out on tour with Alter Bridge, he warms up singing all the Sinatra stuff, and it's just so cool. It sounds so good.
The panties just go flying in tornadoes because of the crooning.
Yeah, no, he is. It's insane. It's such a cool thing that you never expect, and he's so amazing at it. It's really cool.
It must be a guitar lover's backstage environment as well, between Mark and Clint and John and Sevendust. Like, you guys just nerding out about gear and stuff backstage.
Yeah, no, big time. I'm really excited. I've been listening to Alter Bridge and Sevendust my whole life. So if you told me, 10 years ago that I'd be opening for them with my own band and touring with them, man, I wouldn't have believed you. It's too cool to be true.
You talk about growing up in a musical environment, and obviously there was going to be a lot of musical influence. Do you remember what the first band or first song was that you were like, no, I like this? Because there's always that line in the sand. There's the music you get exposed to growing up, and then there's a moment where you discover a band, a song, an album that kind of starts your own musical identity.
Yeah, when I started playing drums when I was 9, I was basically listening to a lot of Van Halen and AC/DC. But the first band that I really discovered on my own that I really enjoyed was Blink-182. And so Enema of the State was one of those albums that I played over and over to on the drums to get better, which is crazy because I think yesterday it was 24 years that it's been out, which is an insane anniversary. But yeah, that was Enema of the State, but Blink-182 was a really special album for me, learning how to play drums and everything.
Well, Travis Barker is a pretty high bar to set for yourself if you learn how to play the drums.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't wait to see you with Alter Bridge and Sevendust at Foxwoods, and congratulations on the release of Mammoth II. It was so nice to finally meet you. Thank you so much.
I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much.
See
you take
ya.
care.
Thanks, you too. There he is, Wolfgang Van Halen from Mammoth WVH. Mammoth II, the sophomore album from the band, is set for release on August 4th. And a little over a week later, you'll be able to see the band with Alter Bridge and Sevendust at Foxwoods in Connecticut. Get the details on that show and the Metallica shows in 2024 at Gillette Stadium by checking the links in the show notes of this episode. You'll also find all of Wolfgang's links, all of Mammoth WVH's links, my links, and the link to this episode's corresponding playlist. I make a playlist for every full-length episode of the Mistress Carrie podcast that's filled with all of my guest music and all the songs and artists we referenced in the interview. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to the Mistress Carrie podcast. New full-length episodes come out every Wednesday, plus every weekday you get the Sit Rep, which gives you all your music news, rock headlines, and entertainment updates in around 5 minutes. You can join me live every Tuesday night at 8:30 Eastern on my official Facebook page for my video show, Cocktails in the War Room, and you'll always find me on the radio. Get the details on all that and more at MistressCarrie.com. The Mistress Carrie Podcast, a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network.